Okay. Parshas Yisro, the parsha of Kabbalas Torah, the parsha of Matan Torah, a very, very, very central, important parsha for our whole identity, begins, interestingly, with a innovation from Yisro. Yisro shows up. The Psukim describe at length the reunion between Yisro and Moshe Rabbeinu. And Yisro notices that the Kol Ha'am oimdim alav min haboker ad ha'erev, that Moshe Rabbeinu is busy day and night with Klal Yisrael. Various different Ma'amorei Chazal and Gemaras about that, to understand exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu was doing all day and how Moshe Rabbeinu divided his day. But Yiyeh eich sheyiyeh, Yisro was not happy with what he saw. Novel tiboil, he said, you're going to get worn out. And Yisro came up with an innovation that we should be maimed. We should appoint dayanim, different levels, and a hierarchy of dayanim, sarei alafim, sarei me'ah, sarei chamishim, sarei asaros, and they should judge the people. A practical eitzah, a little bit of government efficiency, famous big words today. To v'ato techazeh. And Moshe Rabbeinu went to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with this idea, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu was accepted it. And say he malech begvura, because Yisro says, this is what you should do. V'yel ikim imach, Hashem will be with you. So Rashi says, say he malech begvura, go ask advice from Hashem if this is a good idea. A little bit interesting that say he go out and he malech v'gvura and ask Hashem. Hashem is maskim, and they're maimed these dayanim, this new system. And then we go to, and then Yisro leaves and we start Kabbalas Torah. Says Rashi, in the first Rashi in the parsha, that Yisro has 7 names, and one of Yisro's names is Yeser. Why is Yisro's name Yeser? Because Yeser means an addition. And Yisro is the cause of an additional parsha in the Torah, the parsha of V'ato Techazeh, the parsha of the Minoi HaDayanim. And because of this additional parsha that came about through Yisro, therefore Yisro has the name Yeser, extra. His name is Mr. Extra, because he was Moisef, an extra parsha on the Torah. Now this is a Pella. This is a Pella. This is not something we just take. This is something very, very bothersome and concerning, because every word in the Torah is part of the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu had before the world was created. And it was a perfect Torah. And Histakel ba'iraisa ubara alma. The Torah is not a result of the world is a result of the Torah. And certainly the Parsha V'ato Techazeh is part of that. It's part of that shleimus of the Torah, that's Kutshabricha ba'iraisa chadhu, that is the Ratzain of Hashem. What does it mean that Yisro came up with an addition, and his name is addition because he has an appendix on the Torah? What does that mean? This is part of the Torah. And if it's part of the Torah, so why are we giving credit to Yisro for it? What's the Indian that it came from Yisro? What's happening here? So, thank you so much. So, about 30 years ago, by a Kiddush, my Rosh Hashiva spoke about this, and he said something that was eye-opening to me, and I'll tell you what it was. And since then, I've come to appreciate, like many things that we heard from him, that he was just hinting at the very, very beginnings of something that's very important, very profound, and very relevant to you and my learning Torah. He said like this. He said, Be'etzem, the tzura of the Torah is that we learn Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the etzem, the tzura of the Torah. Rashi in Parshas Devarim even says that there was a little bit of a taina on Klal Yisrael that they accepted so easily not to go to Moshe Rabbeinu. You know, they should have said, we don't want to go to these other rabbis. We want to go to Moshe Rabbeinu. That is the tzura of the Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu is the neshama of Klal Yisrael. He's the seichel of Klal Yisrael. He's the tzura of Klal Yisrael. Of course, Torah should be taught by Moshe Rabbeinu. We're the Mekablim, and he's the Noisein, and that's how Torah should be taught, and that's how Psak should be delivered. But sometimes in this world, the realities of this world demand that we do something in order to be able to hold on to the Torah. Sometimes we need a yad, we need a handle. It's like too hot to handle. And we need a way to be able to have the Torah by us that works for us. And having a Moshe Rabbeinu min ha-boker ad ha-erev with this problem of novel, tibel, whatever it is, but this difficulty of being makabel the Torah demands that not only that we learn, that not only that there be a Torah, but listen to this very carefully, part of the shleimus of the Torah is that the Torah allows itself to connect with us. So at the same time, it's in addition to the Torah, but it is part of the Torah itself. Yes, what Yisro said, he was being mechavin to the shleimus of Torah. But the shleimus of Torah is that it's not just a Torah that's b'shamayim, and if you get it, you get it. It's a Torah that Klal Yisrael has the ability to connect with. And if it doesn't work, if everyone to be makabel psak directly from Moshe Rabbeinu, so then there's a mahalach for that. And that mahalach is how we can connect to the Torah, how we could absorb divrei Torah, because it doesn't work the other way. And that's why it was necessary that idea come min hachutz, to be megala, to show that this reality of the Torah. So Yisro, who's a ger, Yisro is the ger. Yisro is what is a ger? A ger is a kedusha that came from the outside and attached itself to the guf of Klal Yisrael. So this ger, which is a kedusha that comes from the outside and attaches itself to the guf of Klal Yisrael, is the one that teaches us how we can attach ourselves to the kedusha of Torah, even when we're on, relatively on the outside. That's what he told us. He said that's why the lashon is tzei himalech b'gvura. Go out and ask Hashem, because that's not from the inside, from the essence of what Torah is. No, Moshe Rabbeinu should be teaching Torah, but sometimes you have to go out of that in order that it should be able to be niskabel by the tzibur. So tzei himalech b'gvura. Okay, ad kan what he said. Then I want to tell you what my reaction is to those words and how profound I think they are in understanding the whole inyan of Kabbalas HaTorah. And if you think I'm overreacting to talk that way, if you think like, okay, let's calm down, it's a nice word about Yisro, I want to point out to you that the parsha of Kabbalas HaTorah starts with this story. This is the Hakdama to Kabbalas HaTorah. And Ha'teinach, according to the Tanoim that hold that Yisro showed up before Matan Torah, so maybe you could say that was the Seder Hadvarim. Even then, Reb Tzadok points out, it could have said it in the end of Parshas B'Shalach. It didn't have to say it in the beginning of Parshas Yisro. But Lemanda Omar, there's a Manda Omar that says Yisro Achar Matan Torah Ba. If Yisro came after Matan Torah, why is the Hakdama to Matan Torah the story of Yisro? It's Pilei Playim. It doesn't make any sense. So whatever we understand that Yisro is doing here, or that we're learning from Yisro, must be a fundamental intro to Kabbalas HaTorah, because that's what it is. That's the way it's been situated by the Chachma Elyoina of the Torah. So I think there's a very, very deep nekuda here. And that nekuda, and it goes very far. Maimon Har Sinai begins with Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu went down onto Har Sinai. It's a discussion even in the Rishonim could even say such a thing about Hashem. He went down, you know. There's a lashon in Chazal. There's hirchen ha'elyonim v'atachtainim. But there's a pnimius. Hakadosh Baruch Hu's malach ha'la'aretz kevaydai. What does it mean that Hashem went down onto Har Sinai? The idea is as follows. The idea is that us very limited human beings, even the very, very profoundly special human beings of the Dar Deya, were limited in comparison to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Shamayim. The hasagos of the das of the Torah are too high for us. We have no shaykhs to Torah. You know, the Ramban in his Akdama writes that it's brought down. You hear these things. It's nice to know where it says it. You can look at the Ramban in his Akdama to the Torah, and he says that Kol HaTorah Kula is Shmeisav Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that means there's a reading of the Torah. He says the words have to be divided differently. But there's a reading of the Torah that the entire Torah is just a string of names of Hashem. He brings one or two examples. And he says because of that, that's why we're so careful about Chseris v'Yaseris. Because the extra vav, missing a vav, it's very important because it's like a cipher. Imagine you had a secret code. And you write the secret code, dash, dot, 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 dash, dash, dot, 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 dash, dash, and you give it to me to give to somebody else. And I'd be like, I'm going to take out a couple of dashes. Why not? What's it going to hurt? There's a lot of dashes there. I'll just take out a few of them. I could ruin the whole code. Zokter Ramban, the Torah is Shmeisav Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The string of letters of the Torah is not just forming the words that you see, and you could say, okay, I can understand it with the Vav or without the Vav. There's a lot more meaning to it. It's Shmeisav Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a lot of other layers there. But that's a good mashal to understand that the reality of the Torah, the depth of the Torah, is Shmeisav Shal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's way beyond our pay grade. We, and when I say we, I don't just mean us, of course, I mean even Gedolei Yisrael have no shaykhs to the essence of the Ratzon Hashem that's Mizgala in the Torah. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'chasdav HaMerubim, U'be'anvisanusai HaGedola, with his tremendous chesed and his unbelievable humility, HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to share the Torah with us. And the way he did it is that he took all of these incredible musagim that are way above our pay grade, and he kind of translated it into musagim that we can understand. So it's a little bit like when you press send on an email. Shagafival aside, do you know what happens when you press send on an email? He knows, but to the rest of us, okay? Do you know what happens when you press it? You have no idea what happens. I have no idea what happens. How is it that I'm talking to someone in Eretz Yisrael and say, okay, I press send, and they say, okay, I got it. How did that happen? How did it just travel 6,000 miles? How? I don't have any explanation. Again, if you want to find out, you can ask Shagafival after. But I don't have to understand, because I was given this send button that I could press send. And even without understanding it, I could tap into that technology. Now with AI, it's even a greater chiddush. I could tap into technology. If there's anyone here besides the Shagafival, maybe Shua, that could explain AI to me, that would be very nice. But anyone who wants could tap into that technology. It's way beyond. So it's a poor mushal, but it's just a mushal. The hasagas of the Torah are way, way, way beyond our comprehension or our ability to hold them or perceive them. Our brains only work in the three dimensions of our world. The truths of the Torah are so beyond that. And yet, HaKadosh Baruch Hu clothed the Torah in concepts that we understand. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said there's such a thing as a ganev. I know what a ganav is. As people steal. I know people stealing from professional sports players and robbing their houses. I know what a ganav. I can connect with that concept of ganav. Now, what the concept of ganav is, klape shmaya, we have no shaykhs to. Says the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Dalet in his sefer. Says Reb Chaim Volozhin that not only are you able to press send, so to speak, that you're able to touch those concepts. That when you learn about a ganav pays kefil and a gazlan doesn't, or when you learn about Shiluach HaKan, or you learn about the mitzvah of binyan of a sukkah, all in terms of like, oh yeah, Psailas Gayrin V'Yekev. I know what that is. I live in Olam Hazeh. I know what Psailas is. I can connect with that. And with no idea what the hasagas that it really represents, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so unbelievably kind to us that when we learn the Torah on this level, we're not learning it on a low level. The Kedusha that we encounter in our neshama is the same as if we were learning it on that high level. That's unlike anything else that we do in our lives, even unlike Yom HaMitzvahs. That's what Nefesh HaChaim says. It's unbelievable. That's Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu lowered the Torah down so that we could hold it. He like a father, it makes me emotional to think of like a father blowing on a spoonful so his child could eat it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. But it stayed hot. It just became edible for us. That's Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. And rabbis say that's just the beginning. Not only that HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the ability to be able to grab hold of the deos, of the mitzvahs, of the hasagos, of the ratzain, that is the Torah, but He made us a manda omar in that. Loi b'shamayim He. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah, and He handed it to us, and it now became ours. And the deos and the machshavos of Chachmei HaTorah matter. They become Torah. Look at this room. All of this Torah Shabbal Peh that you're looking at was created by Chachmei Yisrael. And the way that they understood the Ratzon Hashem. So it's not only, think about the unbelievable Chiddush, not only did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us access to that unbelievable Ratzon, but He gave us a deya that somehow we have the Siyata Dishmaya within our view of the Torah to be able to be mechaven to truths of the Torah. And that's Torah Shabbal Peh. The Torah Shabbal Peh that we learn, when you learn a Gemara, and you have a Ha'ara, and you have a Kasha and a Teretz, you're learning that Torah, and your opinion matters. It becomes Torah. You have to say Birchas HaTorah before you say Pshat and Tosfos, because it's Torah. That's why I think the Parsha of Yisro is a Hakdama to Kabbalas HaTorah. The Parsha of Yisro is that the Torah has a handle, that there's a way for you to access the Torah, that the needs of the Mekablei HaTorah are taken into account, and that the emes of Torah and the shleimus of Torah includes connecting Klal Yisrael to the Torah. That's the prelude to Kabbalas HaTorah, because that's the essence of Kabbalas HaTorah, that there's room for us in the Torah. There's room for a Yisro to say, it doesn't work out practically. Look at Klal Yisrael. Look at Moshe Rabbeinu. It's not going to work. We need a practical, and that's part of the Torah. And that's a Hakdama to Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. That's a Hakdama to giving us Torah Shabbal Peh. That's a Hakdama to my opinion and my hasagos matter. Reb Tzadok says this thing, I'm just going to say it over. It's not even my type of thing. You'll laugh because it's not even my type of thing to say over, but just to show you ad heichan advarim magiyim. It's brought down, many of you know, that the Arizal taught that Rabbi Akiva is the Amud of Torah Shabbal Peh. Whatever that means. But Rabbi Akiva is like the pillar, the foundation of Torah Shabbal Peh. There's such a phrase I've seen that what Moshe Rabbeinu is for Torah Shabbat, Rabbi Akiva is for Torah Shabbal Peh. In fact, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu saw Rabbi Akiva. Right? He saw that he was being, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was being kosher, tagim onto the Oisias, and he asked Hashem about it, and he said, there's also to be a person that's going to be Dairish, Tilei Tilim Shal Halaches, Al Kol Kaitz V'Kaitz, and that was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, says Reb Tzadok in this week's parsha, that the Ramami Panu, just a aside, just that you should appreciate, the Ramah is Reb Menachem Azariah. The Ramami Panu is Reb Menachem Azariah Mipanu. His sefer is the Asara Ma'amoros. Asara Ma'amoros, by the way, is brought very often by the Magen Avram. Sometimes if you look in a Magen Avram and it says Kosuv Be'ayin Mem, it's Kosuv Be'asara Ma'amoros. Quoting the Ramami Panu. The Ramami Panu is an exception to a very important rule. Do you know that? There's a big shiloh that's asked. I'm just telling you this agav, it's something to appreciate. there's a Messiah that the Arizal said that the Arizal had many Talmidim. He was nifter when he was very young, but he still had many Talmidim. And he said that the only Talmud that he trusts to give over his Torah accurately is Reb Chaim Vital. And whatever is not from Reb Chaim Vital, do not be makabel. If they ask, the Ramami Panu was also a Talmud of the Arizal. And Reb Tzaddik talks about this and others, that the Ramami Panu left the Arizal, he traveled away before the Arizal was nifter. He says what the Arizal meant was, of the Talmidim that were lefanov, b'shas p'tirasa, he only trusts Reb Chaim Vital. And that's how the Ramami Panu stays in the circle. But in any event, the Ramami Panu says that Rabbi Akiva came from the relationship between, that we just saw, we just had in the Haftarah, between Sisra and Yael Eshes Chever HaKeni. He says Yael Eshes Chever HaKeni came from Yisro. So Rabbi Akiva is actually in some sense like a descendant of Yisro. And Rav Tzaddik says, and it makes sense that way. Because Yisro represents that the Torah is here for the Makabel as well. That we, not only that the Torah is given, but it matters. There's a concern in the Shleimus of Torah for the way that you receive the Torah. And that's what Torah Shebaal Peh is. Torah Shebaal Peh is that the Torah is your Torah. Your Pshan and Taisvus matters. The Torah of the Makabel matters. And the Tzaddik says that this whole differentiation of different types of Chachamim, that's a Torah Shebaal Peh thing. That there's different sugim, and there's different mesechtes, and there's different oifanim, and there's different levels of havana. That's when you have, when the tzibur, when the Torah is theirs, so then you go to this for this chacham, and you go to this chacham for this inyan. That's a Torah Shebaal Peh thing, to have different types of chachamim on different levels, depending on how difficult it is. You go to a different chacham. He says, if it's just for Torah Shebiksav, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches the whole Torah Shebiksav, it's all Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's it. There's not different levels and layers. But in Torah Shebaal Peh, as we know, we're all on different levels and layers. That's a Torah Shebaal Peh thing. And I want to point out something about how far it goes. I want to read to you from the Hakdama of the Sefer Tiferes Yisrael. The Sefer Tiferes Yisrael is a sefer written by the Maharal about the Torah and about Kabbalas HaTorah. And he writes just the first few words of the Hakdama are just so full of chizuk that it's just unbelievable. The pasuk he often starts his Hakdamas with a pasuk. The pasuk that he starts with is a pasuk that we all know by heart. V'zois haTorah asher sam Moshe lefnei bnei Yisrael. And he's medayek from the fact that v'zois haTorah, Moshe placed the Torah in front of Klal Yisrael. Klal Yisrael, here's your Torah. HaKosov hazeh roitze loymar. This pasuk wants to say, Ki haTorah chayfetz munach. The Torah is a chayfetz it's sitting there. Kol haroitze lizkais ba yizke ba. Whoever wants to be zeicha in the Torah may be zeicha in the Torah. Ulekach loy omar asher sam libnei Yisrael. Rak lifnei bnei Yisrael. It was placed in front of Klal Yisrael. Not to Klal Yisrael, but in front of them, to give over k'may davar hamunach lifnei kol haroitze lizkais zeicha ba. It's like, I'm putting it here, whoever wants it could take it. V'lo yoymar ha'adam. A person should not say, ki hat, and so many people lo aleinu say this, ki haTorah lo nitna rak l'gedolei hachachamim shehem rechoikim min haToros. I have no connection to Torah. The Torah was only given to the great chachamim who don't make mistakes. Because that's not true. Avol haTorah nitna lakol. The Torah was given to everyone. V'lo yoymar gamkein. Do not say ulai eshge b'Torah. How could I get involved in Torah? Maybe I'll make a mistake. How do I know I'm learning the right pshat? Ulai eshge b'Torah. Maybe I'll make a mistake. V'davar zeh pirshu b'medrash. It says in the Medrash Shir Hashirim, the pasuk says, "Haviyani al beis hayoyin." The pasuk says that Hashem says the Yid says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought me into the house of the wine. HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought me into His inner sanctum. V'diglay olai ava, and he showed me, he demonstrated to me tremendous love. Diglay is lashon of like jumping, like jumping towards me. V'diglay olai ava, he like showered me with love. Oh, I'm skipping a drop. Omer Rav Acha. Am ha'oretz shekoire le'ahava eva. If a Am ha'oretz is reading the pasuk, ve'ohavta es Hashem elokecha, you should love Hashem. But he confuses the word ahava, which means love, with the word eva, which means hate. Kegoin ve'ohavta, he says ve'oyavta. Can you imagine? You can't even get the words out of your mouth. He says ve'oyavta. I don't even want to say the words. Es Hashem elokecha. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "V'digloi olai ava." To me, this is love. This person is learning my Torah, and he goes on to say that because of that, we don't say Sfardim, by the way, do, but in our nusach we don't say Asher Kedishanu v'Mitzvayso v'Tzivanu al Divrei Torah. Because do you know when you're learning Torah that it's really Divrei Torah? No, we say La'asok b'Divrei Torah. I'm involved with Torah. I'm trying. I'm doing what I can. I'm taking the best of my intellect and my heart, and I'm applying it to the Torah to the best of my ability. We're laughing at that Amoritz that says Ve'oyavta, but who knows how often our learning to a Gadol B'Torah would look like the same Amoratzis. It doesn't matter. And that's what Parshas Yisro tells us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be Makabel the Torah. Hashem made room for the Makablim. There's a Makom for the Makabel here. The Parsha of Yisro of Kabbalah Torah starts with, it has to work for those who are being Makabel the Torah. And that is the added Parsha that's really part of the Torah itself. And because that's the Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. Because that's why the opinions of different Chachamim matter, and that's why our opinion matters. We have to be very careful. The Maharal goes on to say, we have to try very hard not to make mistakes. We have to be driven by a priority of truth and accuracy. We have to try to be precise in our learning so that we don't make mistakes and correct ourselves and review. We have to try. Because the Torah is Torah's emes. And we do have to try to connect to that Torah's emes as much as possible. And there's no room in the world of Torah for any kind of deliberate or emotional twisting of the Torah. We have to apply ourselves to the emes of the Torah with full tmimus that the Torah is emes, and not take our agendas into the Torah with us, which is an avodah. We have to do that. But the Torah is the Torah was given with the ratzain that we should hold on to it no matter where we're up to, and no matter how minuscule our seichel is, and no matter how distant our heart is. There's a place, there's a diglei olai ava, there's a place for us in the world of Torah. There's a makom for us in the world of Torah. I want to just end with a maisa that happened in my family. It's a maisa that's a very beloved maisa. My father was 14 years old when Rav Aaron Kotler was nifter. And he was learning in a yeshiva in Borough Park. And one of the Rabbeim was a Talmud of Rav Aaron Zatzal. And they made an assembly. And this Rebbe spoke. The Gadol Hador had been nifter. And the Rebbe spoke. And the Rebbe was speaking with tears streaming down his face about the loss. And my father was a little kid from Borough Park. His favorite book at the time was Sherlock Holmes. He was interested in becoming an astronaut, believe it or not. And he was like he was the kind of boy that would just like read books till the middle of the night. He didn't feel drawn to learning, or and wasn't that good at it. But something stirred in him during that shmooze, and he started to feel this yearning to be part of the world that this Rebbe was describing. He was describing a world of Torah. And he went over to the Rebbe after the shmooze. What I'm about to tell you is what saved my family. I would not be here today if not for the 1 second I'm about to tell you. And he told his Rebbe, please help me get into a yeshiva. I want to be a citizen in the land of Torah. Those words, a 14-year-old kid. And his Rebbe sent him to Philadelphia, and from there he went to Denver, and from there he went to Lakewood, and he became the Talmud Chacham that he is today. And he worked in computers for many, many, many years, but he stayed Davuk, and I know he should have many, many long, healthy years. He stayed Davuk in Torah. And that comes from, this world is my world. I want to be connected to it. I want to belong in it. It doesn't matter if I'm not in yeshiva. It doesn't matter if I'm not the smartest guy. It doesn't matter if I can't finish Shas. The Torah is my Torah. I hold citizenship papers. I'm the Bnei Yisrael that the Torah was placed in front of. I have the passport. I have access to the Torah. And when I sit down and I learn a piece of Gemara, it's my Torah. And Parshas Yisro teaches me that matters. The Torah was given so that I could be makabelit. And my opinion, and my Torah, and my time, and my involvement matters. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the kayach to be able to engage fiercely in Limud HaTorah, because the Torah is not something we are borrowing from the Chachmei Ador or peeking in on someone else's life. The Torah is truly ours to learn. Yashikayach.